This is John Costa, the Parallel Lives Network, day 2 of 16 days of activism, and I'm delighted to be joined morning my time, but early afternoon in New Delhi in India by a very good friend of the network, Kavita Ashok, the environmentalist, campaigner, regular TV panel host, member. It's interesting watching you all the time on Twitter. You're on all these various panels and stuff on television and radio talking about the environment and climate change and air pollution and stuff. So how have you been, Kavita?
Hi, John. I'm so happy to be back. This is my biannual talk with you, and it's very, very interesting. I feel really privileged to be with Doc Media Center and the kind of efforts you're doing all around you and with students especially. So I'm very happy to be here, but my heart really aches because this topic that we're going to talk really makes me bleed. My heart bleed because I live in a city in the capital of India where it's very hard to breathe now.
Yeah, I mean, air pollution is one of those things that is one of the main focuses of your Twitter feed when you're sort of exposing where you are on air to TV and radio, and you're constantly campaigning, and also Tree for Life, your own NGO. Do you feel sometimes that you're making progress because of the questions that you're being asked, or with the panelists that you're on with, that you're actually starting to make some progress? I know it's a really big picture, but at the end of the day, we have to keep talking about it, don't we?
John, I really feel that when someone says nothing about something wrong which is going on, is worse than at least some people, raising a voice, whether it is saying it politely, whether it is in a request form, whether it is an awareness form, or whether it is on social media or TV channels or with government bodies. I feel that there should at least be a handful of people who are sensible enough not to offend the state, but to be heard in a sensible manner. So I consider myself very privileged and lucky that with whatever experience I have the opportunity to represent my people, the citizens of India, and especially wherever we have these environmental challenges, I'm invited to talk and share my views or whatever awareness I can create. So I think, yes, small steps do help, and tiny drops do fill up the ocean.
Yeah, good link to World Oceans Day there. I like that. Now I've spoken to you before about your role of going on to, and how passionate you are about going on to, TV panels and radio shows and stuff like that, talking about these issues. And I think I remember we had a conversation once before where you said you were filming in the street, and the camera person or the interviewer was drinking like that, and they were about to throw the thing onto the street, which is probably what they would normally do, and they'd realized that it was you, and they said, "Oh, we need to find a bin to put this into." Do you think it's as much about changing the media's perception of climate and climate change and the impacts of it, as well as politicians, and then enacting laws that then can benefit, the populace?
In India, especially, I can talk about India. I think we've come a long way, because in 2008, when I started with my environmental, passion for the environment and to work, started my little NGO and I started working. That time, there were not many takers, as you may say, to even listen to environment talks and to forget about asking me to, speak about anything or, But over the last 15 years, I see that the media has also really awakened, because now every day, if I'm going on social media or the national television 4 times a day, 5 times a day, and talking about climate change and environment and landslides and, soil erosion and deforestation and air pollution, that means that there is a demand for this. People are awakening to it. I majorly credit the media, because they have really awakened to the cause. And henceforth, every day we are having, panels about this. Even the print industry, the newspapers, magazines, Everybody has articles on environment. It's become an integral part of media now. Earlier, it was not like that. Even 15 years back, there was not much
So
happening.
yeah, so the media is almost reporting on these things now, because obviously
Yes.
the readership is,
Yes.
or the viewers or the listeners are actually kind of almost like wanting this information. I guess the media are a great barometer, aren't they? Because they wouldn't be doing it if there wasn't a demand for it.
Yes, there is a demand for it, and I also feel that I credit the media, the Indian media also, because I think they have also created a lot of awareness. Because had they not even added it to their, their airtime or whatever you call that, then very few people would be actually picking up a book on environment or finding an article on environment in a particular magazine or newspaper, because that it always had a small column. But now when we have anything environment related, or even if it is plastic pollution or air pollution, any of the issues, we even have the Yamuna river pollution going on now, water pollution. So now the media is very savvy, it's very environment friendly, I would say. And I know a lot of people, a lot of anchors who are so dedicated to the cause. So yeah, I would give them the credit that they have really helped people like me who were working on the ground and who wanted to create that awareness. But they have given us a platform which is really worth appreciating, because until and unless you're heard at a national level where you have crores of people watching that thing, it doesn't hit such a large audience. But you know how it is, John. I'm like a stubborn person. When I started, nobody was listening. I said, never mind. One day they will all come around and listen. And now we see on every television channel, on radio shows, we are talking of environment, we are talking of climate change, global warming, not in a very boring manner. They can, even radio can make it very interesting. They can put in certain stuff, and they have very good RJs and all. But I think that the very fact that it's out there, it's become one of the prime topics. Yes, there is a lot of awareness now.
Yeah. Now, obviously, when you talk about things like, climate change and the impact on the environment and things like that, we start to get things like, human progress, whether it's tunneling, roads, development, deforestation, and all that sort of stuff. And of course, you've got the ongoing situation there unfolding of the Uttarakhand tunnel collapse, with the people still trapped as we speak. And that's the same area that I remember one of our most recent conversations, we were talking about a massive flood that had happened as well. Is there a lot of development in that area, or sort of a rush to create things like tunneling and sort of deforestation that's causing all of these things? They all seem to be kind of interlinked in a minute.
Firstly, it also depends on the geographical factors there, the kind of rocks that are making up the mountains there, firstly. Secondly, I was talking to someone today from the defense, and they said for security reasons also, a country has to make tunnels, and when you have this kind of relations with your neighborly countries. So for security reasons, for defense purpose also, we need all these tunnels. But I, as an environmentalist, I still feel we are pushing a little too hard, because that state of Uttarakhand, as it is called, is going through a lot of mess when it comes to environmental disasters. That state had always existed since eons, but why 30 years back, 50 years back, it was not regular. Now, every year we have a huge landslide or flooding or something like this, like a tunnel. I mean, something or the other is happening. That means that state is being ripped off. Its forest, its natural, the way it is. Mountains are being cut to make more and more roads, because John, that state is very beautiful. It's called the Dev Bhumi. Dev Bhumi means the land of the gods. It's really gorgeous. Anybody coming to India would love to go there, because you have the Gangotri, Yamunotri, the Ganges originating from there. So a lot of people go that side as for tourism. So for tourism purpose also, people have really try to make it more approachable for tourism. There are many factors to it, maybe economic and tourism, but that state is really in a bad form when we look from the environment point of view. I think we are really exploiting it a bit too much. So the tunnel collapse is not only I don't even call it a technical, maybe a fault. It could also be a natural disaster also, that the tunnel just caved in, because I think it was already weak, and that kind of burrowing and making moving mountains and getting inside it, I think it just couldn't take the weight. That's what I think from a layman's, so that everybody understands what I'm trying to say. I hope, John, I'm clear, because you're trying to push something which is already weak, so it just caved in. And now the problem is that with whatever technical know-how, so many teams are working on the ground, they're still unable to reach the 41 laborers who are trapped inside.
Yeah, yeah, and of course it's always the labourers that seem to bear the brunt of this, isn't it? Or
Yeah.
they're getting paid and they're doing their job, and so yeah, it's that whole view that we need to take about the environment. And isn't it interesting that all around the world now, if we were to reach out to other people during the 16 days of activism, it would almost be very much around, there's that kind of blessed and cursed when it comes to locations and venues. You were saying there it's a really beautiful place, land of the gods, it's got everything going for it, and then almost that rush to enhance that is one of the reasons why it seems to have these kind of negative impacts on the environment, because it's all about the tourists need to see this because it's beautiful, but you're destroying it by making it open. You've got a kind of delicate balance.
Absolutely, because I also go to that state quite a bit. It is so beautiful that everyone, especially from North India, because it falls to the north of the country, everyone rushes. When we have a 2-day vacation or a 3-day weekend here, holiday, everyone rushes. It's closest to Delhi and this part of India. So it's like a quick vacation for everybody. It's so beautiful. But whenever I travel, I always see there's a lot of roads are being made. There's a lot of blasting going on every time. We have these roadblocks saying, wait, we are blasting this mountain, we are making this thing, we are connecting this. So too much construction is going on, because it's what I've seen with my own eyes. I'm not even saying something from any data or any book. I've been there a million times, and whenever I go, I see something or the other blasting is happening. So I don't think that much is required. Of course, development in India is really happening. As you see, we've really, charged up on the economic front and development. Beautiful. But for a state which is already very tender and sensitive, the mountains are sensitive to this kind of a blasting and destructive therapy that we are giving them. So I think we should hold back.
Yeah. Now in the UK, we seem to be going into a lot more direct action now when it comes to the environment. I don't know if you've seen any of it in your news over there about the sort of the Just Stop Oil protesters blocking motorways, blocking airports, disrupting other events and stuff. Obviously, the situation in Gaza has overtaken all of the media, and before that, a lot of that was Ukraine. But every now and again, and it's very much pitted against us and them. As in, like, they're disrupting our daily lives, and here we have these kind of radicalized older people. Particularly, it's almost, it doesn't really focus on the young people so much now. It's more about older people, like this former doctor decided to do this, or attacking paintings in museums and stuff. And of course, you and I probably won't survive long enough to see in 100 years' time whether what these people were saying is actually true or factual, or were they the first person to point out the fact that this was going to happen. It's that the trouble is, it's how do we deal with talking all the time and not much action with the population, and then how do we have the talking all the time and not much action, the odd law from politicians, while big business is still exploiting the planet and stuff like that. And of course, for me, I think one of the big things, particularly if you follow anything that Al Gore does, the former vice president in the States, environmentalist, is very much around, look, some of the bigger nations in the world, the ones that are more advanced, have done all that extraction and oil and built their nations, off the back of other people and exploitation, colonialism and imperialism. And now the nations that are coming up behind it and are now economic powerhouses in their own right, like India with your population and China, to turn around and say to, well, why aren't you using more green energy and renewables? And you're like, well, hang on, give us a chance to get there with our country's development and our people, and then we can start thinking about that. It's a very complex issue, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. See, as you just said, green energy, solar power, then e-vehicles, all these are new terms for any government, and we are still not there. Because as I see, if we talk of substituting petrol and diesel vehicles on the road with e-vehicles, I don't think we are ready. We are ready because we don't have the stations, we don't have enough, the readiness is not there. Even the people are mentally not ready to switch. So that will take a lot of time, because you said maybe we are not there when all these big changes happen. But when it comes to any country in the world, I think the political will for environment is the basic requirement, more than even activism, more than even people like you and me working, raising a voice, or creating awareness, or whatever campaigns we do or talks. Everything is good, but what about political will? Without political will, nothing happens. Whether it is the Paris Agreement, or whether it is COP 28, 27. Let real leadership shine through for environment.
Mm-hmm. So let me finish our conversation today, because I know you've been on television already this morning on a television panel, and you're about to do another one as well, so I won't take up much more of your time. Thank you for fitting us in. I really appreciate it. I think it's a sign of our friendship, so I don't take it lightly, honestly. Let's finish with COP28, obviously coming up between the 30th of November, so in a couple of days time, to the 12th of December in the United Arab Emirates, UAE. Of course, there's a lot of controversy there, really, because of where it is, like an oil producing state, and sort of, the role of big oil and that sort of stuff. How can you have something about the environment when big oil is involved? Now, I take quite a pragmatic view, which is basically, I'd rather those people were in the tent than outside the tent, because ultimately a group of people sitting around talking about oil producing countries without the oil producing countries being there, you're never going to get anywhere. So at least they're at the table. Now, I'm not saying it's all even and even-handed or any of that kind of stuff. And of course, they're chairing it this time as well, which makes it more of a challenge. But do you think at least then, by having everybody on both sides of the argument, if you like, around the table, at least means that some progress is being made, because at least we're talking?
Yeah, absolutely. See, as it's well known that a conversation is a very good starter to solve any problem. Even when a husband-wife fight, the elders in the family always say, please have a dialogue. Without a dialogue, nothing happens. So even on big environmental issues and global challenges that the whole planet, the whole world is facing, without sitting down, I don't think it can ever be solved. Like I see that in India also, the air pollution problem will only be solved, John, when we have the state government and the center government sitting together. Before we close, I just want to show you the AQI. I have this small meter with me. I hope you can see it. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, so it says the AQI in the place where I'm sitting today just now is 316. Air pollution level is 316 just now in the afternoon, and it's sunny outside. And in the mornings, it's going from anywhere from 400 to 1,000. So you can imagine, without a dialogue, how do you think this is going to come down? It's not going to come down by creating awareness or planting trees now, because it's already 400, 500. So at this time, we need political will. As you said, we need leadership, whether it is COP28 or whether it is within the country. We need pure leaders. We need people who are going to make it work, not people who are going to create a election mandate about air pollution, water pollution, and forestation, and get votes from the public and not do anything. I think it's time to step up the game and make it really a serious game, because this is like now, if citizens of a country do not get clean drinking water, no air to breathe, you're closing the schools, making work from home for everybody that sit at home, you're not able to drive your car. What kind of a city, what kind of a lifestyle are we giving our citizens who have invested their confidence in you, their faith in you? So I think political leadership, I feel at this point of time in the world, is of prime importance. A lot of people have gone into climate activism. John, you have seen over the 15 years, this has really come in, because it was never there so strong. Now it is in. We encourage and welcome more people to join, but I think the leadership needs to take the front row.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Kavita. I hope the rest of your day goes well. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us.
Thank you, John. Wish everybody a good day.